All right, we've got to get to something really, really important. This needs to be, I am going to show you a video that justifies launching a new investigation into Republican Congressman Jim Jordan and whether he was an accomplice in a greater way than we already knew to the January 6th riots. Think back a week to when Nancy Pelosi said Jim Jordan and Jim Banks can't be on this committee investigating the January 6th riots. And at the time I said, Jim Jordan is more likely a witness or a co-conspirator than he can really in any realistic way be an investigator of what took place on January 6th. He appeared yesterday on Fox News with Bret Baier, and Bret Baier asked him, did you speak to Trump on January 6th? And Jim Jordan is caught, obviously, trying to obfuscate. You've got to see this. Let's listen to it line by line. OK, here we go.
Committee is obviously going to go down a number of different roads about who knew what when, who was talking to coordinators of the protest. Did you talk to the former president that day?
I've talked to the former president umpteen times, thousands. I may not thousands.
OK, did you talk to the president on January 6th? And Jordan says, I've talked to the president umpteen times. And Bret Baier tries to clarify exactly the date on which he's referring to.
The former president umpteen times, thousands. I may not thousands
on
times,
January
countless times. I talked to the president. I never talk about what we talk about. I just
OK, so he's still, now he says, I talked to the president. He's still not saying on that day, but it seems to be what he's conceding here.
That's appropriate, just like I don't talk about what happens in Republican conferences. So
sure.
I've talked to the president numerous times. I continue to talk to the president
since
he's left
on
office.
January 6th, Congressman.
Yes, I've talked to the president. I've talked to the president so many, I can't remember.
So he seems to be realizing he can't just lie and say no. And he seems to be realizing Bret Baier is going to keep asking the question. So he tries to slide it in and says, yes, meaning, yes, I did speak to Trump on January 6th, but I've talked to him so many times, I can't even remember all the times I've talked to him.
Remember all the days I've talked to him, but I've certainly talked to the president.
Yeah. And on that day can you share any of the insight of what he was thinking about that day?
Very clear question. What's the relevance? The relevance is I Alone Can Fix It. The book from Carol Leonnig and Philip Rucker says it has multiple sources who say Trump was basically giddy on January 6th. The reason Trump didn't send in the National Guard is he loved what was going on. He was giddy. He was absolutely loving it. And my guess is that when Jim Jordan spoke to Trump, Trump expressed being thrilled about what was going on. Now, what Jim Jordan said, we don't know, but it's obvious why Jim Jordan doesn't want to talk about what that conversation was like.
Bret, the people we need to come testify are the people who can testify to the fundamental questions.
Well, one of those people might be Jim Jordan. What exactly was Trump's mental state when you spoke to him? Was he giddy about the riots?
Why didn't the United States Capitol, the People's House, have an appropriate security posture on that day? And what have we done? Those are the people we need to hear from. Yeah. That's the information and testimony we need to get. That's what we should focus on. But I don't think that Benny Thompson, the chairman of this committee, said
the question wasn't about Benny Thompson. You know, the question was about your conversation with Trump.
Things on the table until we raise this issue about the Speaker's office is the one who knows what the security posture and why it was the way it was. Once we raise that question, he said, well, everything's on the table.
OK, so he clearly doesn't want to talk about what he said to Donald Trump. Now, what do we know about Jim Jordan? Well, we know that Jim Jordan was part of a meeting of House Republicans that took place in advance of January 6th about how to overturn the election. We know Jim Jordan was there. It's been widely reported. We are aware that on December 21st of 2020, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan, Mo Brooks, and Louis Gohmert, really a cast of characters, were spotted at the White House. And the reports are that they met with Donald Trump. So we know Jim Jordan met with Trump about how to overturn the results in advance of January 6th. We know that Jim Jordan voted against certifying the results. And we now know that Jim Jordan, through his obfuscation and his distraction, we know that Jim Jordan also spoke to Donald Trump on January 6th. We also know that Trump was reportedly giddy on January 6th about the riots. We also know that Donald Trump was responsible for the military not getting to the Capitol as quickly as they could have on January 6th. And here is the slow drip about the truth of Jordan's potential role on January 6th. My guess is that Jordan's fingerprints are all over the January 6th riots. I'm sure there was lots of locker room talk about it. And the idea, I mean, imagine Jim Jordan tried to argue his way into being an investigator of the January 6th riots. Good for Nancy Pelosi for saying you can't be on the panel, Jim. And the reality, as we now know it, is that this guy is almost certainly a witness to the inciting of that in his conversation with Donald Trump. And he may even be an accomplice in what took place on January 6th. Unbelievable, truly unbelievable.